Well, this one's going to have everybody screeching online. First and foremost, the headlines read, Trump ignites culture battle with extraordinary plan to ban trans people from owning weapons. Now, I'm going to I'll give you a second to leave a like on the video because I know how hilarious based. But there's definitely more to the story that we need to discuss. And there's an angle that, outside of all the hilarious dunking, that we also need to discuss. So we have this article on the Daily Beast. Trump admin plots to ban weapons for trans Americans. The discussions are using last week's deadly incident in Minneapolis as a launch point. Every left-wing media outlet is going to be running with this. And we need to talk about this because, yes, I don't, first of all, let me be honest with you. I don't support this. I know, you're probably pissed. Don't be pissed. I don't support this because it shall not be infringed. I support putting people in mental institutions that need to be there, but I do not support red flag laws, and I do not support infringing on this country's Second Amendment right. It is a slippery slope to when the government says, well, we need to ban trans people from owning weapons. If Kamala Harris was president, she would be saying, well, the far right MAGA, they already tried to call MAGA Terry's, right? MAGA is a far right, dangerous thing. So what's the natural next step? Well, if you voted for Trump, you have to be banned. If we call you alt-right, you're banned from owning weapons. You just can't. I think it's funny. Funny. But no, I cannot support it. I cannot. And I may lose some people over this, but this is the article. Trump admin plans to ban weapons for trans Americans. The senior Justice Department officials in the Trump administration are mulling a weapons ban that would single out transgender Americans. The proposal would limit trans people's rights to possess firearms. Two officials familiar with internal discussions told CNN. The discussions were first reported by the Daily Wire and are using last week's deadly incident in Minneapolis as a launch point, the officials told the outlet. The horrific event, in which 2 children were lost and 21 were injured at the Annunciation Catholic Church, was carried out by a 23-year-old trans individual, just like about the last 10 events. Right-wing influencers were quick to assert that Westman's motive to do this stemmed from being trans. Well, the manifesto he wrote said that as a fact. Stated that he was tired of being trans and he didn't want to be, he was mad that he got brainwashed or this, that, and the other thing. That's what it said. That's what it said. And now the Trump administration appears to be using this as an escalation of the administration's attack on transgender Americans. Yes, it's an attack not letting them go into the bathroom with women. It's an attack. Their lives are literally under attack because they can't be biological men and force their way into women's locker rooms and changing rooms. That's an attack on them. In 2023, they're saying, well, it's only 0.11% has been carried out by trans suspects. Well, how about the number of mass events? Trump ignites culture war with extraordinary plan to ban transgender Americans from owning weapons. In the wake of, obviously, individuals within the DOJ are reviewing ways to ensure that mentally ill individuals suffering from gender dysphoria are unable to obtain firearms while they are unstable and unwell. No, I don't agree with this. Because when a Democrat's president, and there will be one again, obviously, and this is the way it works in America. It's like 2 years of Republicans, 2 years of Democrats, Republicans, and back and forth, never ending back and forth. When the Democrats run, they're going to say, well, MAGA is a cult and we think they shouldn't be able to own weapons. This is a dangerous, slippery slope that I don't agree with. I think it's funny. It's a funny meme. But no, I don't agree with it. It shall not be infringed. This is no different than a red flag law. The Daily Mail has reached out to the Department of Justice for comment on its report. It comes after, we talk about Robert Westman. It was revealed the day after the incident. Again, we talk about Audrey Elizabeth, a 28-year-old trans person that did what they did in Nashville. Now it appears the DOJ is considering preventing people with mental illness of specifically gender dysphoria from being able to purchase any kind of weapons as a way to crack down. And you want to save lives? Send the National Guard into downtown Chicago and downtown Detroit and Baltimore. You'll save thousands of lives. What I would rather see the Department of Justice do is federally allow open carry. And don't force people to have a license so that every person in that church can be armed. If there are no more soft targets, these things stop. There's a reason that every one of these events happens at a weapons-free zone. Look what happened. Was that back in Michigan, maybe a month or two ago? An individual went up to a church to try to carry something this out, and one of the parishioners was armed, and then another person ran him over. We need to stop living in this fake argument world of like, we need more regulation on weapons. Weapons are never going to go anywhere in America. And let's stop pretending like laws dictate what criminals do. This is the dumbest crap ever. Blocking trans people from owning weapons is the same logic as a gun-free zone. It is. I think that, trans people who are having mental health crises should get more mental health help. There should be no soft targets. I would love to have our federal government fund armed guards at every public school. I would 100% support that. 4 to 5 armed guards at every school. Let my tax dollars pay for it. Guess how many school events we'd probably have after that? I'm guessing 0. The church has plenty of money. They should be funding it. They should be protecting their patrons. They should have multiple armed guards at every church service. And people will say, well, Jeremy, is that the kind of world you want to live in? Yes, it is. Because it's a world where people are safe. It's not a world where politicians and people on both sides of the aisle argue for argument's sake. On the left, they'll say, thoughts and prayers aren't enough. We need to ban weapons. And on the right, they'll say, shall not be infringed. And then nothing changes. What you need to do is remove soft targets. You see let me pitch something to you. About 4 or 5 of these lunatics in a row, 3 or 4 of these lunatics in a row, show up at a church, and get ventilated in the parking lot. These stop. That will be the end of school incidences. Mark my words. You have 2 or 3 of them unsuccessfully show up and get ventilated in the parking lot and everyone laughs at them. That'll be the end of it. They show up to a church, they get ran over by a parishioner, and they never even get inside. They'll stop going to those churches. They walk into a grocery store and the people are armed and they get taken out immediately. That'll stop. Generating more laws around gun control is the dumbest thing. It's the dumbest way to handle any situation. And why just trans people? What about schizophrenic people? What about bipolar people? What about people with anxiety? Because, right, most of these trans people are also diagnosed with anxiety and depression. So if you get diagnosed with it, right, now you lose your Second Amendment right? No, I don't think so. I have anxiety. I'm diagnosed with it. Generalized anxiety disorder. Does that mean I don't get to have a Second Amendment right? Why? This is, all jokes aside, this would be disastrous. How far will they be? They'll say, oh, they don't like you. They're going to say, oh, well, he identified as transgender. Evidence? I don't know. Trust us. We're going to take away, this is, if they do it to trans people, they'll do it to, right-wing people. Maybe people with pretty strong beliefs. Let's say there's people on the right. They're really, really far right, and I don't agree with them, right? They hate certain groups of people. Guess what? That's their right, and they get to own a weapon. The same way Antifa gets to own a weapon. That's how the Second Amendment works. And because it's the Second Amendment, there is no exception. It shall not be infringed. And as funny as it is, the meme is, the DOJ reportedly considering trans individuals owning firearms. This should have been a long time ago. I don't, the right of people to bear and keep arms shall not be infringed. How about banning trans surgeries for adults? I would agree with that. How about banning, hormone treatment, or, looking into SSRIs, or, banning pharmaceutical drug commercials, or, this is a bad thing. People say, once you open the floodgates, it doesn't stop at the first village. This is a terrible precedent to set. 1,000% against this. No giving up anything under any circumstances. How about we ban SSRIs and big pharma? Yeah, I mean, that's what I would say. Now, I firmly stand against this. We need some sort of investigation, knowledge, truth around why so many trans people are carrying out these attacks, but more laws that infringe on our constitutional rights are not the way to do it. I don't know, or we don't know if Trump's technically attached to this directly or not, but I will say I stand firmly against it. I hope you were informed by this video, and we'll talk to you again real soon.